were searching for a church, and we had a couple of churches in mind, and it just so happened that this was the first church that we decided to give a try. I think what attracted us was really the people, very welcoming. People wanted to know me and know about me. People made an extra effort to reach out and just shake my hand. We weren't just going through the motions.
I really love just all the families, the kids. Everyone's just so able to be themselves. Just the way that you feel when you walk into a place, not feeling like you have to be a certain way.
I like coming here because, it's a place where I feel safe. I'm not going to be judged. I just feel welcomed. No matter what my week was like, no matter I missed a couple Sundays in a row, I get treated with the same love and kindness and open arms each and every time.
The Fields is really good at just making you feel welcomed no matter where you're at in your journey, or if you haven't even started a journey yet, they're there every step.
Knowing that our kids are rooted in a church that loves God, that serves others, that's constantly striving to push you to become closer and closer to God through service, that gives me comfort that they too have a place to come back to find support, find direction, reboot. We've grown our family with the church. It really has become a family to us. Coming here is it's like a second home. Being at the Fields, the nice thing is everything's very transparent as far as we're trying to raise money, and then this money is going to go to this cause, and we know exactly where our finances are going towards, and that is what motivates us to want to find ways to give back. The older I've gotten, the more I do realize that, time, our most precious commodity, is a gift. The time that I spend here at the Fields to help the Fields grow and to create environments where people can spend their time in such a way that they're serving others, they're growing in their faith, and they're spreading love and light in the community, that's time well spent. Having support for an organization that is going to truly be the salt and the light of the world. They're going to Honduras and Bulgaria and Africa and some of these places I've never been before, but because I'm a part of the Fields, I'm supporting missions both at a local level and in the world. That's something that I've never been a part of until I've been with the Fields.
I think what excites me about the Fields and the future of the Fields is seeing young families come and then feeling like they're at home, they have a place where they can raise their children and grow relationships. The Fields just has an amazing way of drawing families in and helping you grow.
If we grow, we have an opportunity to intervene on kids from the very beginning. How amazing it is to be able to change just their direction and their trajectory in life. And that happens from maybe bringing together a dysfunctional family or a family that just hasn't been working like it should. We could bring families together because this is a place that fosters love and hope and kindness, and it doesn't judge. It doesn't matter where you are in your spiritual walk, we're going to lift you up. Whether you're a non-believer or whether you're a seasoned believer of 50 years and your walk is solid, you have a place here. That's something I can commit to.
Welcome everyone to group. Wasn't that an incredible story? We love the Dorners. We love how the Fields Church has helped them connect and really be their family.
Yeah, it really is. And I love seeing all the pieces and parts that they've gotten to be a part of after being welcomed into the Fields Church.
Yeah, so I'm hoping through the Flourish series, we're sensing like this is about us flourishing, helping others flourish. And there was a time when the Dorners moved to town, and we were helping that family find a place to flourish.
Yeah, no, 100%.
It's been so many years later and they get to tell their story.
Yeah, and that's what this series is about. We're in Flourish, 5-week series. Where what we're really doing though is it's a launching of the vision of the Fields Church, that we want to flourish to help others flourish. But it's this spiritual and generosity initiative that's really going to carry us into this future. And so you should have a guidebook. We've been passing these out on Sunday. If you haven't gotten one, your group leader can get you one. Get one of these guidebooks, make sure your name's in it, and open it up today. Take some notes. There's a section in here for tonight's group or today's group. We want you to take notes on what is happening, what's going on. Then there's all sorts of information in here. Go through it, read through it, check it out. We want you to carry this with you. Be like, God's going to speak to you during this thing. Like, I know he's been speaking to me. I've been talking to families. And so write that stuff down. Write how God's talking to you.
I tuck it under my pillow at night.
See, there you go. Like, I mean, there's all different ways to use the guidebook. And so have this thing with you. But you've also, when you got your guidebook, you got one of these commitment cards. And so we haven't talked a lot about it yet. Just what I want you to do is, as a family, this is what Heather and I's done. We've sat down, we've read through it, we looked through it, and it's got some instructions in the book you can even follow along with. But use this as that guide for you as you're having these conversations as a family of, hey, what does it look like for us to flourish, to help others?
Yeah, I don't think you have to make decisions yet, but I would be in a place like we're into 2 weeks. Like, just familiarize yourself with it. Like, it's time to just get familiar with it, because there will be a time God speaks to you and goes, you know what? I do think this is what we can do as a family.
Yeah.
So
no, it's good. It's good. But
So
we're
anyway,
jump in today.
Yeah, we Sunday we got to talk about Abraham.
Father Abraham. And man, no.
Well, he did, but I'm not singing that. Anyway, he threw me off. Okay, so no sing-alongs today. But we've been talking about different aspects of Old Testament people who can speak into our lives. So Noah was a lot about the mission. Today is all about the trust, right? Like, what's it look like to trust God? And with Abraham's, like, his entire story fits so well into Flourish because it helps us thrive and grow and flourish as an individual. And it really, if we don't have that element of trust in our life, then we can't take steps for God, because you have to have a faith trust.
Right. Which is what that example that Abraham, that story that he set for us years and years ago. It's trusting God, and in some really big ways. And we talked about those on Sunday. Even when they don't make sense, like, God gives him this picture of what the future is, but then gives him steps that didn't look like it was going to line up.
Yeah, his story starts in Genesis chapter 12. So that's where you guys can get your phone or Bibles out. And when you guys go into the conversations tonight, you'll land in chapter 12, and then you'll jump like 10 chapters later to see another part of the story. But you can get ready there. But in chapter 12 is where God, remember what we said on Sunday, he asked Abraham to do something like step out into the unknown and literally go from his country, from his home, and say, hey, I'm going to lead you somewhere. And Abraham's like, where? And God's like, well, you're just going to have to wait, which is hard.
That's a big trust. That's a big step that Abraham takes. And it's literally like God's just saying, close your eyes, take my hand. I'm going to lead you. You have to trust me. I'm going to lead you. You're going to leave behind everything that's familiar to you.
Yeah, we want all the details, right? Like, if anybody asks me to do something, I'm like,
when, where, why?
What's that going to look like? What am I saying yes to? How involved is this going to be? And so we just have to learn. And this story is Abram had to walk into the unknown. We talked about that on Sunday, and trusting that God has a plan, even though we can't always see the nitty-gritty details and how it's going to, where's it going to lead us?
I do think we can relate to that. And we talked about this Sunday, of course, is God might be asking us, one of us, to trust him with different things. Like, in some people, maybe it's a career opportunity or move. Maybe it's a relationship that we've not truly trusted God to lead us in. Maybe it's our finances. And so God, I think he's working in each one of us, and he's basically saying to each one of us the same thing he said to Abraham, which is, hey, like, I'm leading you. I'm going to take care of it. I just need you to follow me. I just need you to trust me.
Exactly. And so he's like, you've got to trust me. But then it's not just trust, because I think as you remember the Abraham story, it's trust me because I have a promise for you, and I'm going to bless you.
Yeah.
And he was going to be the father Abraham.
Abraham
Had many
had
sons.
many sons. Many sons had Father Abraham.
Okay, we're done. And take 3. We're done with that one. So anyway, Abraham learned that he was going to get to be a blessing for others, which that's where it falls into flourish, that we flourish so others can flourish. Abraham was going to be blessed with a child, and so then he could bless others and begin really the father of faith.
Yes, yeah, and that's what we look at him as, and I love that because with Flourish, with Abraham, it's showing us it's that we're not meant to be this reservoir of everything that just stays inside of us, like it's all for us. No, like we're meant to be this stream that literally God's blessings are flowing through us to help others flourish.
Yeah, we shared that on Sunday, right? If we're a pond, think about just a pond water with no current. It gets smelly and scummy.
We just seen one the other day.
Yeah, we did. Yeah,
We're out in the
no
woods.
water. We're using this as an illustration on Sunday. It smells and there's no water and there's no movement.
Yeah.
And when we don't want to have a life of no movement.
Yeah.
And we don't want to be smelly and scummy.
Correct.
But so that's why it's like the word picture for us better on Flourish is like a stream. Like God blesses, provides in our life, then we release and provide into others.
Yeah.
And that's when God goes, wow, if you're going to let that go into my kingdom, I really believe this. Like, I'll give you more because you're giving more. Like you're going to let the current flow into that neighborhood.
Yeah.
So it starts here and you let it go.
Yeah.
I see that all the time with businesses and stuff. It's like, as soon as we started helping, it's like our business got
boomed.
Got bigger.
Yeah, it got better. And that's it's interesting because as we look at this story of Abraham and we're talking about that trust, and then he gets this promise of this blessing. Well, God promises Abraham a son, right? And then Abraham and his wife Sarah, they're way past the age of having kids. Like that's kind of a piece that we can't leave out when we're talking about this blessing, this promise that God gives him, is that hey, like you're gonna have a son, but by the way, Abraham's like nearly 100 and Sarah's nearly 90.
Yeah, it says that Sarah was laughing because there was like
There's not a chance. This ain't happening. Like my wife's not anywhere near 90, and she would laugh at me today.
Abraham threw on a little of that cologne.
Yep, a little Old Spice. We'll put it around there. All right, and so what it shows though,
kids in the room. I know there's kids in the room, so
we apologize.
They had a child.
But what we do see is that Isaac is that blessing that does come to fruition as Abraham's in his old age, as Sarah's in this old age, and it shows that God is faithful to his promise.
But then there's like another step of trust, which is very, very difficult because he asks Abraham. I'm a dad. I cannot imagine this. He asks Abraham to sacrifice his one and only son, Isaac. Can you imagine?
3 sons. You can surely.
I still have 2 out of 3. That's not bad.
Probably not.
But so they waited for a son for so long. They receive it, and then God says, "And now I want you to offer your son as a sacrifice."
It is a crazy thing. I got a son too, and it is crazy thing about. But what's even crazier is that Abraham said yes. Like he was willing, and so he had trusted God that, and we said this Sunday that even if Isaac died, if he had to sacrifice Isaac, that God would bring him back to life because he had made this promise that he would father many nations, and that's a deep faith. That in the end, that no matter what, Abraham's saying, I'm going to trust God. Now, luckily, the story doesn't, like Abraham never actually has to sacrifice Isaac. God doesn't do human sacrifices. What he does is he provides because of the faith, this ram that's stuck. And now we see this true test of trust that Abraham, he passed it with flying colors because he believed that God would keep his promise.
Yeah, it's an incredible picture of faith.
Yeah.
I heard from God. I'm obeying and I'm believing that God's plan is the right plan. And really, it's incredible how God provides this ram in the thicket at the right time. And literally, when you go back and read this, it's like knife was in the air and whatever. It's like, okay, whatever.
Sorry.
But then it's like, and God makes and provides. And here's a crazy thing is like this whole story, like Isaac had to carry the wood. So he was like, they think he was probably like a preteen or a teenager.
Yep.
So he's willingly laying down on this altar to be the sacrifice.
Because Abraham would have been over 100 at this point.
Which I'm going to get a little geeky on the theology stuff. But remember how Noah and the ark represented the church? Here's Abraham and Isaac. Isaac representing the sacrifice of Jesus.
Yeah.
And he carries the wood. Well, Jesus lays his life down willingly on the wood of cross.
That he carried.
And it's the story of when we really can trust God and have faith when he says, do you trust me?
Yeah. God's redemptive story.
The story is amazing.
That's so good. God's redemptive plan just plugged throughout Scripture. But that's what really this whole Flourish thing is all about. It's about trusting God with everything. Like, just like Abraham had to trust God with his future, with his son's future, his family, all of this, we're called to trust God even when we don't always know what the bigger plan is.
Yeah. So good questions to ask tonight, and just to ask yourself is like, am I trusting God right now? Like, do I hear a whisper? Do I have a nudge? Do I have a sense that the Holy Spirit's speaking to me? And then will you trust? Last week, we one of the prayers in the groups was, let's start hearing from God. Pray that you start hearing from God. Well, today it's like, if we're hearing from God, let's start trusting God, right?
Yeah.
And so, will you trust God? And remember this story. We shared this on Sunday. It was like, just close your eyes and follow me, and grab my hand. Trust me, trust me. So I want you to just have that mentality. If I can just grab God's hand and trust Him, and I just think the end result will blow you away. I really believe that.
Yeah, like Abraham, we're blessed so we can be a blessing. We're called to flourish so others can flourish. And so whether it's time, talents, finances, resources, like how can we use what God's given us to be make an impact in others, how to help others truly flourish.
Yeah, and that's why we're here, and that's what this is all about, is the flourish, the flourishing. I want us to flourish. I want to help others flourish. That's why the Fields Church exists, so we personally can know God, but then we help others know God. And when we begin to trust God, we get to be a part of His bigger picture. We get to be a part of the story.
What an opportunity we have. And so let's think about that this week. And your leader, your group leader is going to walk you through some questions and get to really dive a little bit deeper about your story, your personal life, what God's doing and can do through you. And so we're gonna do that today.
Yep. Grab your Bibles, open up to Abraham's story. God's going to show you that we can trust and believe God. And then when that happens, we flourish.
That's right.
And when we flourish, others can flourish. So have a great group conversation today. Leaders, back to you. And everybody, open, honest conversations and just dive into this idea of what's it look like to really trust God. We'll see you guys.